Hey friends, welcome to Living the KG Life, a pixie dust-filled podcast. On today's episode, we have John from Beyond Podcast to talk all about what we should be watching on Disney Plus for the holidays. So stick around, it's going to be great. All right, well, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on today. Why don't you give us a quick intro, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm John Sencabaugh. I'm one half of the Beyond Podcast. Not in the camera so much. I do a lot of behind the scenes stuff, a lot of the creative and editing, and I've been doing that for about a year now, and it's been awesome. It's been a great ride, and I'm happy to be on today. This is great.
Amazing. Now, for folks that are not in our area or maybe haven't heard of the Beyond Podcast, let's give a quick plug. Tell everybody what Beyond Podcast is all about. The show is great. So give everyone kind of the Cliff Notes version of what Beyond Podcast is all about.
For sure. Abbreviated version, we cover local sports, and it's mostly high school. We have dipped into college, and we try to get a different aspect of those sports as opposed to just highlights and things like that. We're trying to get the behind the scenes. Anthony Petrellis is the founder and host of the Beyond Podcast, and he's got a great network of coaches that he interviews and talks to. So the show was originally called Beyond X's and O's. We still use that tagline once in a while because it truly is beyond just the plays and just the highlights and things like that. It's getting to talk to the coach, learning about their mentality, learning about their decisions in their teams and how they get everyone to rally together and things like that. So we've definitely branched out. We've also covered small businesses in the area.
Love it.
And things like that. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, we today are going to be talking about Disney Plus and movies and holiday movies and things like that. So let's give everyone kind of a little bit of background on you and why you are the person coming in to talk about Disney and movies. So give us
Absolutely.
Kind of what's your earliest Disney memory, or what made you fall in love with Disney, and then where does the movie aspect all come into play?
For sure. Earliest Disney memory for me, honestly, I remember vividly, and a lot of people, remember certain little pieces when they're young, but my second birthday, I received Winnie the Pooh, like everything. I got the VHS tapes. I got, stuff in my bedroom. I remember like opening these things. And I think what helped me was my mother always recorded everything. And I don't mean like little snippets or pictures or anything. She had the big old JVC camcorder, and that thing would be on so much. My father would even be like, shut that thing off. But like now we look at it and we were so grateful that she had that thing all the time, because we can watch, not just 5 minutes of a birthday party. We can watch the guests arriving, everything all the way through them leaving. And like,
Love it.
We have them. And my mother actually turned them into DVDs a few years ago. They're not in 4K quality, of course. They're a little choppy. But she saved them, and it's the best thing. But again, to go back to it, I think that's what really got me to remember that was I received a bunch of Winnie the Pooh stuff, and I would watch those VHS tapes over and over and over and over again. I mean, that was the only thing I would watch. And I think what I really fell in love with Disney about was that started. I love drawing. I love art. And just watching that and being told and learning about how that stuff was illustrated. It wasn't made, wasn't made in a computer back then. It wasn't made any other way. And knowing that that's the way it was made got me really into it. My grandparents were both, on my mother and father's side, were artists.
Oh, that's
and they
amazing.
would always sit me down. Yeah, they always sit me down and teach me how to draw. And it wasn't like a simple, like, oh, that looks good. If it didn't look good, they'd say, hey, fix this. They were very, very sweet people, but they were very critical as far as like what you were drawing. It was like, I drew a person and they had 12 fingers and say, no, the person doesn't have 12 fingers, but watching that and them sitting with me and watching the animation and learning that that's how Disney made their movies. And again, I think, you and I were born in the Mecca. I call it the Mecca of Disney movies. I remember seeing the Little Mermaid in the theaters, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King. I think we had the best stretch of animated movies of all time.
100%
That's
agree.
what So that's where my love for Disney really came as a kid. Just any movie that was coming out, and it felt like they came out every year. It was like the next big one, and everyone could not wait to see it. But I was seeing it at a different level. It wasn't just the story and the happy endings and stuff. It was the animation for me. I would draw Disney characters all day long. So that's where it started for me.
Oh, that's amazing. And I'm actually in a very similar boat. That was how I fell in love with Disney as well. And something that I think even as we grow up, the more you can almost go back and appreciate too how much all of that actually, like how much work that all takes for it to all come together. And like you said, back in the day, it wasn't, the computer animation that we have now. Those were hand-drawn cells, hand-painted cells, and even the ones that came out way before us is like mind-blowing when you think about how that actually all came together. And at Hollywood Studios, when they used to have the animation studio there, that was hands down every time we would go to Disney, my poor parents, I was like, can we go back and like walk through? They're like, you've done it 100 times. And I was like, but it's so cool.
You were probably one of the very few kids that wanted to do that. But you're absolutely right. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I'm sure you have, but they had, back in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s when they were making some of these films, they had hundreds of employees.
Yeah.
Literally, it was an assembly line. Like, all right, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. And it would just keep going down like that. To see that much of teamwork going into one movie. And don't get me wrong, the computer animated stuff, I'm sure it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I don't appreciate it any differently. I think it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But something about a hand-drawn image just is unreal. I think it just means more to me sometimes.
Yeah. I love that. Now, right before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about Disney Plus, and you put it all in such a great way. I would love for you to talk to everyone about what it is that you think makes Disney Plus so special and different from the other streaming platforms and channels that are out there.
For sure. I think the fact that everything's right there at the touch of a button is unbelievable. We grew up in the age of the Disney Vault, and they'd put things out for sale and then they'd pull it off the shelves. And unless you had it already, you couldn't just go watch it. It wasn't on TV until they did the remastered version of it, and then they'd re-release it again. But sometimes it took 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was lost forever, in all honesty. I mean, I had every single one of those gigantic plastic VHS Disney movies, and all lined up. And my mother was sure to go out, buy it when it was ready and available, and just keep it on the shelves. And it was like gold to her.
Yeah.
Don't rewind it too much. Don't pause it too much. Put it in its case. Don't let dust get on it. Like she treated that like it was Egyptian, like mummification. Just
put it in the
touch
museum.
It. Exactly. Please put it in her own vault, for crying out loud. But I think that because we grew up in that kind of age where we couldn't just have the ready access of it, that's what makes Disney Plus so great, is that everything's there, literally, and things that you don't even remember. And then you look at it, you go, I kind of remember that, and to be able to just, again, hit a button and watch it, especially I have 2 kids, and introducing stuff to them that I loved as a kid. Maybe I don't get the same reaction that I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
It's usually like, oh, that's like so old. It's like, well, I saw it when I was a kid. Thanks for aging me. But but to have that is unbelievable, to be able to share that easily without having to keep those big VHSs around and be able to just have it all right there on the TV. It's amazing.
Or even like you said too, like when things used to go in and out of the vault, I don't think for people that weren't like diehard Disneys, like I used to watch online when things were going to be coming out of the vault and where it was going to be sold. And I remember I went to Target all of the time specifically to go to the DVD section and buy all those different movies as they came out of the vault.
Oh, for sure. And they would sell out sometimes. And like it was like a hot ticket. And they cost a lot of money too. I remember like when you get the souped up DVD version of something that's been gone for 30 years, you're not just dropping 10, 15 bucks. You're looking at a good 50, 60 bucks because it had the collectors, this, that, or the other.
Yep.
There is something that was very special about opening the case and putting it in. Of course, you were a little upset if someone didn't rewind it the last time they watched it. You're gonna sit there and hit rewind and wait another 10 minutes to watch. But it is nice. It's great to have everything right there. It's something that you would never have thought would be possible back in the day.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is that everything, not just Disney, but all things under that Disney umbrella are in there. So all the Marvel stuff,
Star Wars,
Pixar, like all of those things together are all in one place.
Absolutely.
The stack of DVDs, they're actually in. So my guest room, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast yet, but my guest room is the BR guest room. So all my Disney stuff is in the guest room. And I have all my DVDs, like all my Disney DVDs stacked in a bookshelf because I was like, I feel like it almost can be like decor at this point. Like, I don't have a DVD player anymore,
Right.
but I can't part with some of those because it's like I said, the case, some of them have that kind of like iridescent, like light blue look to them. And you're like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
it's just going to be so nice. You hear the crack when you open it. I love it.
Nothing better. And you're right. There's always something in the back of your mind saying, don't throw it out. You can't get rid of it because God forbid Disney Plus goes down or what are
Right.
you going to do? That's your backup copy. That's
Yeah.
your hard drive right there. So
Yes,
I hear
exactly.
you. You don't throw that stuff out ever. That goes for everyone that's
Yeah.
listening. Do not throw that out. Give it to us if you're going to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take it. And Disney, I think, is also really smart, especially with our generation. So I was just down there this past week, and they have merch in the shape of those old school, like those plastic VHS cases. They
Oh,
have
wow.
notebooks, they have keychains. Like, they know our generation is like all about the nostalgia and wants the original Toy Story in a plastic case, or The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast. They know how to get us.
If you're looking for the world's smartest people, it's the Disney marketing team, folks. I mean, there's
Absolutely.
rocket scientists working there. They might be doing the wrong thing, but they're doing unbelievable things. And you're right. I mean, if I walked into the store, and I haven't been, unfortunately, with COVID, I haven't been to Disney since 2018. But if I walked in and I saw that would just hit me, and I have to buy something out of that. So
Yep.
that's genius move. Bravo, Disney, once again.
I love it. So let's jump in and talk about some Disney Plus. Do you have, or I guess, what are your go-to Disney Plus things to watch any time of year? Do you have there's nothing on TV, which, we all talk about how there's 9,000 channels and all these streaming
There's
platforms
nothing
and
on.
nothing to
Right.
watch. So I feel like Disney Plus is always my kind of like fallback. Do you have things that are your go-to watches?
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you had 24 hours, I'd still be going. But I mean, the top ones I can think about are the Toy Story movies, all of them. One of my personal favorites, which I don't think got a lot of attention when it came out, but I think it's starting to make a little resurgence, is Ratatouille.
Mm-hmm.
They just put that ride there, and was it Epcot?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that's I love that movie. Honestly, I could watch that on my own. I don't need my kids with me. I'll watch that on my own.
Love it.
Up, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, Inside Out, Coco. Those are like the ones that like resonate, and definitely tear jerkers as well too.
Yep.
So those are the ones that I could sit down and watch all year round. I do hit up some of the holiday ones when it's not time. Like I'm watching Hocus Pocus when it's summer, and watching Christmas stuff when it's when it's spring. But those are the ones that I could definitely watch all year and not feel that weird watching them because it's not the season.
Yeah. And now, do you have traditions with either movies or shows? Because that's the other thing too with Disney Plus, is that it's not just movies, they also have shows. And now they're coming out with original shows and series for Disney Plus. Do you have traditions when it comes to the holiday season around anything that's on Disney Plus?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to go off, I mean, Christmas movies in general are very part of my family's traditions. And we had talked about it before. I have the staples that aren't Disney. Like we watch It's a Wonderful Life when we're decorating the tree.
Yep.
I'll watch A Christmas Story 6,000 times. I'll watch, Miracle on 34th Street and all the classics. But the fact that I have a bunch of my favorites on Disney Plus is huge. So the Santa Claus is a go-to. I mean, that thing is watched in November, starting in November, and it's watched 40 times until Christmas. I watched as a kid.
Yep.
Are the tradition ones that I'm trying to introduce to the kids, and it's funny too. A lot of them have these plot holes now. You watch a Home Alone movie and my daughter will be like, why did the cop just leave? Why didn't he just go get Kevin? I don't understand.
Yeah.
How did he get left home alone?
You're like, don't ask
why
questions.
weren't they texting? Yeah, just enjoy it. Be quiet over there, but those are the tradition movies. I mean, those are the ones that I could not go a season without watching. But some of the new stuff, like you said and alluded to, there are some newer movies that I appreciated that maybe I didn't watch originally. Some of the ones that are created specifically, some of like the TV shows that had their own standalone Christmas episodes.
Yep.
And that's what's cool. They're all right there. They're all into one, category, but maybe they'll be be part of the traditions later down the line. As of now, it's kind of a one-off for me, but those, the Santa Claus movies, Home Alone, and I think the biggest one though are the Christmas Carol movies. All three of them that are on there right now.
Yeah.
That's my favorite story of all time. A Christmas Carol in general is, I believe, the most perfect British story written of all time. It is hands down the best story ever written. And every version, I've made a pact to watch every single version that's ever been released, starting in 1910, which is a very difficult one to get through because it's pretty bad. Put your hands up for them because it was made in 1910, but all the way up until anything that was recently released. They had one up made on FX a couple of years ago, but the Disney ones are a staple. And like you said, with that kind of umbrella that Disney had in the late 80s, actually mid 80s to late 80s, Jim Henson and Disney were in talks of the purchase, and Jim Henson was going to buy Disney, and then Michael Eisner was going to buy Jim Henson's Muppets, but not Kermit because that's Jim Henson. Like, it was a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jim Henson's untimely death stopped that. But then they started partnering together to make movies in the Disney studio, but using the Muppets and things like that. And one of the very first ones was A Muppet Christmas Carol, which is probably my favorite Disney movie of all time. I mean, that's a classic. You can't go without that one.
I love it. I'm so glad you said that, because as you were talking about the Christmas Carol, that was like the first thing I was like, gotta talk about Muppets Christmas Carol, because the Muppets is another one that was like a staple when we were kids. Just like straight up, there's the Muppets, and then there's the Muppet Babies for a while. And those are all now making a comeback. Like, my niece and nephews know about the Muppet Babies, and they use, like, the Fozzie Bear jokes. I'm like, what is happening? This is like 30 years ago, and it's amazing. It's like timeless, right? Like, I think that's what's special about so many of these Christmas movies too, is that they have that timeless story, especially like the Christmas Carol, right? You can actually flip that around and have it be the Muppets. You could have it be any character that you really want, and it's still an incredible story told with a little bit of a different twist.
For sure. And that's what I like. I like how they incorporate, all the Muppet characters with different roles in that story. And that's what was great. And I remember that vividly, going to the movie theater and seeing that. But that's another one that if I'm passing it in Disney Plus, I can't not click it. I'm like, what do I watch? And we all do that. We all sit on the couch and we're like, what do I watch tonight? What do I watch tonight? There's always one of those movies that it's so hard to scroll by. But, I always click that one. That's my favorite.
I love it. Now, it's not Christmas themed, but did you see the new Haunted Mansion Muppets special that was on Disney Plus?
I did watch that. I thought it was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. The only negative comment I have about it is I do not like the new Kermit voice. It's newer. It's a different guy who's voicing it. And maybe it's because I'm so used to, I believe his name is Steve Winmore, who did Kermit for so long after Jim Henson passed away. But I feel like he stayed true to Henson's voice and just nailed it. And he was Kermit from my childhood, from 1989 after Jim Henson passed away to, I think, maybe just 6-7 years ago. And it's a voice that I hear it now and I'm like, that's just not Kermit. Like, it's just
close.
That's not him. It is. It's close. I'll give him credit. Same thing. I mean, not to go off topic, but Sesame Street, my kid watches it now. My daughter, Aubrey, she watches Sesame Street, and Carol Spinney, who played Big Bird forever, passed away 2 years ago. And there's a new guy voicing Big Bird. And it's like, that's just not Big Bird. It's like, how do I tell them this? And you watch the older ones, you're like, that's it. That's what it should be sounding like. But I did like the story was great. I laughed out loud at a few parts. I love the Muppet humor.
Yep.
It's never risky, but it's like something that you can tell they're going to try to get the adults to laugh at it too. They're really shooting for that. And there were some really good parts of it. I liked it. I thought it was great.
I love it. Now, if you had to give your top 5 best holiday movies to watch on Disney Plus right now, what would you say those would be?
Home Alone 1 and 2. 1 more than 2, but I can't not watch 2. 2's great.
Yeah.
Anything after 2, I don't care about. The first Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
That's top 5. And then I'm going to cheat and I'll list again the 3 Christmas Carol stories that are on right now. That's Mickey's Christmas Carol, Muppet Christmas Carol, and then Robert Zemeckis' Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey in it.
Oh, yep.
Those 3 are staples because, again, it's my favorite story told. And I think Disney did a great job on all three of them. And they're all a little different too.
Yeah.
Mickey's is under a half hour. So if you want the story quick and lively and to end, that's the one you watch. The Muppet one, obviously, is a little more playful. You get the lovable Muppet characters in that one. And then Robert Zemeckis is definitely more true to Charles Dickens' story. And it's a little darker and it's a little more of its time. It really looks like it's 1843 during it, but I love that one too. But those are my top 5+ that I really like right now that are on there.
I love it. And now, is there an order? Because I feel like, especially when it comes to movies, Disney movies, series, there's a lot of debate on how you should watch movies, orders that you should watch them in. For your top 5, are there an order that you think, if you said, okay, everyone listening, the week of Christmas or the week of the end of the year, whatever holidays you celebrate, here's the order that you should watch these movies in?
I think you should always do movies that have sequels to them. You got to do it in order. That's common sense. You don't want to be jumping around from story to story, but that's a given. But I would say with the Christmas Carol movies, don't hit them all up in one night because, again, it is the same story. You got to space it out. And, you can kind of, I would do Muppet Christmas Carol as the finale. That's like my last one. That would be Christmas night. Everything's over. Everything's unwrapped. Everyone went home. That's what I'm watching, dreading the 26th coming the next day. That's the one I'm closing the night out with. The Mickey one is one I can watch at all times because my kids love it because it's only about a half hour long and it's got Mickey in it and the kids love those characters. And then I don't know. I don't have a specific order, but again, I think to close it out, I would definitely end it with the Muppet Christmas Carol one for sure.
So the keys are watch them in chronological order if they have sequels.
Yes,
space out the Christmas carols and end with the Muppets Christmas Carol.
For sure.
Now, do you have any hot takes on movies to skip or movies to just straight up not watch at all?
I have 2 that you should just not even look at.
Tell me, I'm ready.
The number one, I just unfortunately myself watched it a couple weeks ago. Home Sweet Home Alone was maybe the most dreadful movie I've ever seen in my entire life. The first 15 minutes, I just thought to myself, what am I doing to myself right now? I could be doing so much different than what this is. This is so bad. I just think they really tried to get back to the original, but in the wrong way. They ruined it. They really did. I was hopeful because it was supposed to have some surprise appearances. Buzz shows up as a present day police officer and would have been cool to see a few more cameos and things like that. And, especially we were so disappointed with everything past Home Alone 2 in the 90s and early 2000s that this should have been something that you're like, oh, okay, Kenan Thompson's in it. So you're like, maybe there's going to be some kind of funny aspects to it, but it was horrible. It was such a disappointment. Yeah.
I haven't seen it, so.
I mean, hey, you know what? Yeah, I wouldn't. There's no reason to. I'm telling you right now. Second one, I don't think anyone's shocked by this, but Jingle All the Way 2 with Larry the Cable Guy. Again, the fact that Disney put that in the holiday category, it should be hidden. That should go in the vault and stay in the vault. I mean, don't need it. It's
Tell
horrible.
us how you really feel.
Right? If the show wasn't rated G, the words I'd be using right now. But yeah, that movie's horrible. One movie, this is going to surprise you. One movie to stay away from only because, and not stay away from because it's bad, but stay away from it because it is really tough to watch with kids.
Oh,
okay. Is a movie called One Magic Christmas. It was released in 1985. Mary Steenburgen, who is married to Ted Danson, she's the mom in Step Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
She's been in a lot of stuff. She plays a mother who's really depressed during Christmas time. It takes place in a fictional town called Medford, believe it or not. Yeah.
Amazing.
We used to watch, and I think we all have those movies that our parents showed us that as adults now we go, why did you show that to me? Like that was probably something that we probably shouldn't have watched. But I don't want to give too much away, but it does have some parts in it where the story gets way too out of control as far as what happens and making promises. And let's just say someone passes away, but then they come back to life, which you just shouldn't teach kids that.
Ooh, that's tough. Yeah.
The acting was great. The story itself was different, but I liked it. And it's like an 80s movie. So it's got that feel of when I was a kid. So I love the nostalgic feelings to it. But again, something that maybe you don't watch with the kids, the young kids at least. But I liked it, but that's why I would stay away from it. It's not one of those, you look at it, the title says One Magic Christmas, and it looks really pretty. And it's like, oh, let's try this one out. I'm warning you now, you can have a lot of questions for your kids if you watch that.
So maybe wait till they're a little bit older and they can kind of piece some existential
wait till they're 30
together.
or 40. Yeah, exactly. Wait till they don't live in the house with you anymore. But I do like that movie. And I think it was one of those movies that my parents probably watched. It was like, oh, they're from Medford too. Let's buy the VHS and let's show the kids. Hey, look, guys, they're from Medford. Oh, yeah. Well, how come this happens? And they're like, oh, yeah, we didn't really think about this. So the plot gets a little crazy. But I would watch it, because it's definitely a cool story and it's got a happy ending to it, but maybe not with the kids.
Good to know. And for everybody listening, Jonathan and I are from Medford. So anything Medford, we are in.
For sure.
Love it.
For sure. Yep.
All right. So last question before we go into speed round of favorites.
Mm-hmm.
If you had one top reason to give someone who doesn't have Disney Plus yet, and you're like, you got to do it. Because I tell everyone, I'm like, best $7 you'll spend.
Yeah.
Every month. What would be your top reason that people should sign up, subscribe to Disney Plus, and start watching away?
You would get the coolest history lesson of all time at the tip of your finger.
Love that.
I mean, in all honesty, you think about it, the longevity of Disney in general, starting all the way, with Steamboat Willie and everything to today, to watch what's changed, the storylines, the characters, in the ample amount of titles. I mean, it's just, again, it's a history lesson all right there. It's unbelievable. And for people who love art, for people who just love film in general, it's a great app to have. And again, like you said, there's so many other things that aren't necessarily just Disney that are coming to Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. So it is kind of like a one-stop shop for sure. It's not just Disney. Star Wars fans, the Marvel fans, they're going to have something for everyone. So that's what I would say if I was on Disney Plus.
I love it. And I think one of the things that a lot of people don't know that's on Disney Plus is there's what you were just talking about, the history, but there's also a ton of behind the scenes documentaries and stuff like that that's been coming out. One of the ones that I've watched a couple times is Into the Unknown, and it's all the documentary behind the scenes of how they made Frozen 2. If anybody listening has not watched it yet, please go watch it. It is incredible. And similar to Jonathan, what you were talking about earlier of how they actually put together the story and the character and the music and how they really think through and make that all come together. And I've told so many people, I'm like, watch Frozen 2 and then go watch Into the Unknown, because it will just blow your mind, the conversations that they have about would Elsa do that? Is that really what Anna would be thinking in this scenario? They put themselves into the mindset of these characters and into the story and say does that song actually tell or move the story along where we want it to?
Right.
So not only going to get the nostalgia, the history, but then you also start to get some of the behind the scenes. And I think that those have been so successful. I really hope, crossing my fingers really hard, that they will continue to do that. Because even things they've done series on how they decorate Disney World for Christmas and things like that too. Yep. That's the kind of stuff that I think a lot of people miss out and don't realize how much goes into the magic that is a Disney movie or Disney World or any show. So that stuff to me is also super cool, that behind the scenes look that you would never get if we didn't have Disney Plus.
Right, especially with Disney too, because Disney's so much of a place in a company that they want you to just see the experience. Mm-hmm. They don't want you to so much to always see the wheels and how it all works. They just want you to enjoy the presentation of everything. But you're 100% right. I think they are one of the very first ones that, like I said, they do have documentaries on the early animations and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people didn't want you to see how everything was done. And I love that stuff as well, too, because it's unbelievable to see a team come together to do all these things. And again, like you said, it's not just the movies, it's the parks, it's the food, it's the music and all these things. The Disney documentaries are really good. That is awesome.
Love it. All right, so let's jump into speed round of favorites. Are you ready?
Alrighty.
All right. I know some of these answers, but we'll see how they go. What
Okay.
is your favorite time to go to Disney?
I want to try Christmas time, but I always go in the fall for us fair-skinned Irish people. I feel like it's the nicest to us.
Yep.
It's not too hot. I think if you're gonna get good weather down there, as far as heat goes, fall's the greatest. I love the decorations during fall too. It's awesome. Halloween, very close to Christmas, but Halloween as a kid was always my absolute favorite holiday.
Love it. And there is lots of exciting
A lot of things to do.
Fall decorations, Halloween decorations, parades, characters, things like that out around that time. So that's awesome.
Sure.
When you go to Disney, do you have a favorite resort that you like to stay at?
We usually go in small little trips. We do like a 3-4 day.
Love it.
So we've never after listening to your shows, I do want to start doing the longer trips where we actually enjoy the resort a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because we were always, hey, let's not worry too much about where we're staying because we're going to get up at this time. We're going to be out all day. We just need a bed. Yeah. And we would do the music, the all-star resorts. We would always do that. But we actually, last time we went to see Legend of Sleepy Hollow. They had it outdoors, like in a cabin area. And we actually were lost and we had to go through the Wilderness Lodge. And that thing is massive, and I would love to stay in there. So that's my dream lodge to stay, dream resort to stay in is the Wilderness Lodge. It looks unbelievable. It looks like it's so different from everything else, but it's it looks cool, very original.
So now what I've heard is if you want to go around Christmas time too, is I've heard Wilderness Lodge and then the cabins over there are supposed to be like the best to check out at Christmas time. Wow. Because the cabins, I guess people like decorate their cabins like they would decorate their house for Christmas.
I've seen that with the lights and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like they have golf carts that they decorate. But then the Wilderness Lodge, I believe, they're supposed to have, I think, a really beautiful Christmas lobby. Like
that's
decoration.
Cool. Yeah, the lobby itself. That's what we fell in love with. I mean, high ceilings, the timber all over the place. I mean, it looked like a ski lodge. So I can only imagine how pretty that looks during Christmas time, especially if you're missing that cold weather and you're down in Florida for the months of December. Wilderness Lodge is probably that place to feel like you're back at home in the Northeast.
Yeah, I love it. All right, how about your favorite park?
Magic Kingdom, hands down. I think that just has so many memories, and I've been there a lot of times with a lot of different people, but everyone's reaction when they get through the gate and see the castle is the same. I mean, anyone just looks at it and they're like, I've made it, and it could be because you just went through a crazy travel to get there. It could be because you haven't been in a long time, but people's emotions hit you right away automatically. As soon as they see that castle, they're like, I'm here. Let's have fun.
I will say it makes me so happy. I love Magic Kingdom so much. And whenever other people say it's their favorite, I'm like, oh, yes. Yes. It's
hard not to be. I don't have anything against the other parks, but I think Magic Kingdom just has so much history to it. Just think about it. In the beginning of a Disney movie, you're not seeing anything but the castle. Like that is just such a staple, and I love it. It just means so much. And even the rides there are my favorite out of all the rides in the whole park. Splash Mountain, Space Mountain, Snow White Mine Train, the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, all of those are my favorite, and they're all right there. So
I love it. How about, do you have any merch or collectible items either that you get when you go on your trips or like something that you have that's like really special to you?
Absolutely. I have a couple of original movie posters from the Disney movies, which amazing. I'm a huge. We can do an image later, but I collect like movie stuff. Like that's what I do. I have letters written by like old actors. I have autographs. I've got all kinds of stuff in this actual room right here. This is my my little man cave, but
I love it.
I got a couple of original Disney posters. The one piece of merch that I never actually got, I purchased but didn't get it, was a vintage wooden Pirates of the Caribbean gun. Bought it when I was a kid in Florida, and they confiscated it at the airport. They wouldn't let me take it. So when I got home, it was gone. And it was awesome. This thing was awesome. It was like, I couldn't wait to get it. I used the money my grandparents gave me. I was like 7 years old. I was so pumped. We get home, unzip the bag, and there was like notification that they confiscated it. And I was like, oh my God. So Santa Claus purchased like this cheesy plastic replacement gun that like sounded horrible, didn't look nice. Like, God
Oh
bless Santa,
man.
but it wasn't a perfect replacement. And I remember like even getting it going, this isn't the gun, like,
Oh.
and to this day. And I'm still nervous to ever get one. I would never buy one now because even security's heightened even more. I'll never get that thing
Right.
home. So
Oh
yeah, I'll
man.
never forget that. My parents still laugh at that. They go, "You never got that, did you?" I go, "That's funny."
Yeah.
But
Like
yeah,
no,
that
and
was a merch.
I'm still
Yeah,
feeling it. Thank you though.
still feeling it. Yeah, I could have grown up to be a pirate, but no, I'm just being a regular guy now. Thanks a lot. God knows what would have happened to me.
I love it. So how about your favorite Disney movie? Like all-time favorite Disney movie?
Animated, gotta go Beauty and the Beast, and that's my favorite animated one. That I remember that one very well. Going to the theater, seeing it, being scared to death at scenes, the songs, the merchandise afterwards. Like, that was what was cool about Disney. Like,
Yeah.
Toys R Us came out with merchandise back in the day when that
Oh
movie was
yeah.
coming out. Such good way of just showing off that movie. But
And those Toys
Beauty,
R Us magazines and catalogs.
oh, the Wish. Remember the Wish book from
Ugh,
J.C. Penney? The thing would
ugh.
be the size of a telephone book, and you'd be circling. Just I would circle all the Disney stuff. Like, I want this, I want this, and
Yep.
yeah, you're absolutely right. Those catalogs were awesome. I can still see them now, but that's my favorite animated. Favorite live action, gotta go Hocus Pocus. I
Oh,
have to.
okay.
Because I was, again, Halloween fan as a kid. And I know that movies has its own resurgence lately and the sequels
Yeah,
coming
there's
out,
another
but
one coming out.
you might be KG, but I was an OG
Yeah.
with the Hocus Pocus. So I loved it. I really did. I loved that movie when I was a kid.
Amazing. How about your favorite Disney character?
Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh. I can't say anything bad about him. He's just unbelievable. He's just like he's all emotions wrapped up into one when you see him.
Yeah.
The voice alone, Sterling Holloway voiced him, and now Jim Cummings voices him, but they both like did an unbelievable job. But their voice, Winnie the Pooh's voice alone makes you fall in love with the character because he's just so innocent. He just says things that you're just like, oh my gosh, this guy's just like out of nowhere saying things that just don't make sense. But like, he's the character that you love. He always like, I feel like he reminds me of so many different relatives that I have. Like,
Yeah.
whether it's a grandparent or something like that, I just feel like he's just so relatable. Even though he's a bear with very little brain, he's awesome. He's my favorite, hands down.
So when I went to the Merriest After Hours last week, they had Piglet, Eeyore, Tigger, and Pooh were kind of like out in different parts. And every time I go to any kind of like meet and greet or anything where like the 100 Acre Wood characters are out, they are also just like such great interactions. And
That's awesome.
even though they don't speak, they embody the presence and, like you said, the personality of those characters
Right.
well. They had little scarves on, and the character attendant, I was like, oh, Winnie, I love your scarf, and Piglet, I love your scarf. Eeyore, your scarf is cute. And the character attendant was like, oh, they did, 100 Acre Wood scarf exchange, and it was like a secret Santa,
Whole story,
and they
yeah,
loved it.
yeah.
Like, they had a whole backstory. And so they're all, showing off their scarves and playing with them. And, Eeyore looks sad and is kind of like cuddling his. And I have a reel that I'm going to post.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Miserable donkey, the poor guy. Honest to God.
I love it. And when he's like, throwing his scarf up and like, falls over his head, and he's just like, Meh.
Yeah.
Oh, bother.
Yeah.
It's perfect. They do such a good job with those. And sometimes Winnie the Pooh is out at, I think it's Epcot, and he like has like a butterfly net, and he's just like aimlessly roaming around, trying to catch butterflies, and you're like,
it's funny.
Just the cutest.
What does this guy
ever.
do? Oh, for sure. Oh yeah, he's awesome.
I love it. All right, so last two, and I think we might have touched upon these, but we'll cement them in here. Favorite Disney Christmas movie? Doesn't
Muppet
have to
Christmas
be
Carol.
I was gonna say, doesn't have to be on there, but
yeah, Muppet Christmas Carol again. That one just hits home to me. Just brings back so many memories. That one's awesome. That one's my favorite, hands down.
I love it. How about a favorite Disney Christmas special?
I would say one that I'm really into now and might actually make it to the favorite is Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got like 3 original stories in it that are unbelievable, tear-jerking stories. My um almost 2-year-old daughter Aubrey is obsessed with the first story, the Huey, Dewey, and Louie Wish It's Christmas Every Day. And
Mm-hmm.
it is, and it's like a Groundhog Day effect where at first they're like, this is great, and their wish came true, and Christmas happens every day, and Uncle Donald gets terrorized, the poor guy, and every time Donald flips out, my daughter belly laughs, which is like really cute. And I've only seen it 72 times in the past 48 hours,
Yeah.
but it is good. It really is good, and the stories are good. They're really good stories. But as far as a non-movie special, I think that's really good. I like that a lot.
I love it. And last question. Do you have a favorite Disney magic moment? It could either be it's happened at the parks, happened at a themed party that you had. It could be watching something on Disney Plus with your kids. Or whatever your favorite magic moment is.
We were at Disney 2018 for Mickey's Not So Scary.
Mm-hmm.
I went dressed as a pirate with my daughter and my wife.
Amazing.
And halfway through, took the pirate outfit off and had my Red Sox uniform on because they were in the last game against the Dodgers.
Yep.
And I paid so much money to be able to get the service to watch it on my phone. This is before, being able to get like the Ness and Go and everything like that, or any, this was on Fox. So I had to stream it on the phone. So every ride that we were in line for, I'm watching it, and I was giving updates to like all the Boston fans because they're like, they're winning, are they winning? I'm like, they're winning. And I remember Chris Sale came in to close the game, and I was on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train ride, and we were in line, and I was like, I wanted the line to actually go slow so I could watch the game because I can't have my phone whipped out to not ride because I wouldn't have a phone anymore. I'd fly away. So I'm like, oh, please, just a little longer. First time I've ever wished to be in line a little longer.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, all right, pal, like you're all set. And I'm like, no. I'm like, just 1 second. I'm like holding up the line. But everyone around me is like, oh, this kid's watching the game,
Yeah.
And then I let out the biggest yell when Chris Sale struck out the Dodgers player for the last out. And it was awesome. The Red Sox just won the World Series. I boarded the mine train, had a great ride. It was one of those special nights where not as many people there. So the rest of the night, I had the biggest grin on my face, was there with my family. It's Halloween time, Sox are world champs, and all was right with the world that one night, but I'll never forget it. Yeah, it was awesome.
That's amazing. And I love that there were other fans around that were like hyping you up and also checking in, like who's winning, what's the score. There are always so many people with Patriots and Red Sox gear, especially hats, shirts, everywhere at the park. So you'll always find
you always hear people running into people down there too. Like it's unbelievable how many times people just bump into people that they know down there. It's crazy. But
amazing. Well, this was so awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. Any last tips, tricks? I mean, you have all the movie knowledge, I feel like, that I want to pull from your brain. Any last bits of info you want to share with everybody listening?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as far as the movies go, just give everything a chance. Honestly, I mean, there are sometimes that I've looked at something that someone's begging me to watch. I'm like, I don't know. And then I just give it a chance. Sometimes they're duds, but I mean, Disney, you really can't go wrong. You can always find some cool part of it, whether it is the animation, whether it's the story, whether it's the acting or how it was made. There's always something special with the Disney movie. They don't put their name on it if it's completely terrible, except Home Alone. That was horrible. Disney should completely but in all honesty, as far as movies go, you really can't go wrong. You have such a huge catalog of classics, legendary movies, and new stuff coming out all the time. So this was great. I really appreciate coming on, and always here to help with the movie knowledge. So just let me know.
I love it. Jonathan, we will definitely be having you back on soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for hanging out today, everyone. I hope you really enjoyed our episode talking with John about what to watch on Disney Plus this holiday season. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Living the KG Life, and follow or subscribe on all your favorite streaming platforms, and check out all of our new episodes coming out every Monday. Stick around. It's going to be great.